So one of the things that we learned very early on when we started our work in trauma-informed care is the principle around trustworthiness and transparency, and also about empowerment, voice, and choice. And among the things that we've learned is the importance of persons with lived experience, persons whose trauma is such and they have, through treatment or assistance or support, been able to become resilient over their trauma. So the next part of our day today is actually listening to people with lived experience. The person who helped facilitate this whole part is Dr. Bobby Beal. Dr. Beal is from Case Western Reserve University. She also sits on our internal team, and she's provided a lot of guidance and input to this session. So let me introduce to you Dr. Beal.
Good morning, everybody. So we're at my favorite part of the conference, and I welcome you all to be here with us. We, as a committee, spent some time soliciting and getting input from people who have lived trauma experience and are willing and able to share their story, because we think it's really important. Not that you don't work out there with people who have their own stories, but we specifically look for people who are ready and able to share their story, and with a sense of resiliency, safety, moving forward with their lives. And we have found a delightful panel today. And I'm going to introduce them to you one by one. They'll each have about 15 minutes to tell you about their story. And it's possible that we'll have a few minutes left at the end of the session for you to provide some feedback or ask some questions, those sorts of things. So if something pops into your mind as we're working our way through this, jot it down, and I'll be back here at the end to facilitate that. We look for a diverse population with this panel. We represent a lot of fields here, as a matter of fact. Just by show of hands, how many people are associated with the behavioral health field specifically? So maybe a third to a half. How about how many people are associated with the DD field? Yep, there's another third, quarter to a third. How about education in some way? Yeah, nice, thanks for being here. How about the medical field, hospitals, first responders, emergency care, things like that? Okay, nice. And, who am I missing? Okay, but child welfare, DJFS, protective services, those sorts of things? A smattering. And the court system. A smatter, just a couple hands there. Okay, well, welcome everyone. And let me jump right into the panel presentations, and we're going to start our time with Mr. Michael Smith, who's going to come up here in just a moment. Michael's story involves years of trials, frustrations, and struggle, and he's happy to let you know this happened across many counties in Ohio. Okay, so it didn't really matter where he was in Ohio, there was a struggle there. He's been in Guernsey, Franklin, Licking, and finally Hocking. Children's Services took custody of Michael as an infant, and he unfortunately was shuffled through several homes. He had many struggles into adulthood, and a lot of professionals didn't understand or feel confident working with Michael because of his dual diagnosis in both the mental health field and the DD field. Along his journey, he worked with more than 80 providers. His is a story of a person who has learned to become a self-advocate. And he has found gainful employment. He lives in a home of his choosing now. And he has formed meaningful and supportive relationships in his life. He took the initiative to build the life that he wanted versus being told, here's what you could get maybe if you worked hard. Michael knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to live, love, work, play, and pursue life aspirations just like everyone else. Michael Smith.
all for allowing me to speak today. My name is Michael Smith, and I'm going to share a little bit of my story with you today. My mom lost custody of me when I was just a baby. Allegations of physical abuse and neglect and putting sleeping pills in my bottle. I went to foster care, and then back to my mom, and then back to foster care, and finally my mom lost custody of me permanently when I was in the 3rd grade. While in foster care, I suffered physical abuse and verbally abuse in foster care. I was in foster care until I was 18, until I aged out and got too old to be in foster care. Some of the physical abuse I endured in foster care was in a foster care I lived in Zanesville, and the physical abuse I endured was things where they would like lock me outside in my underwear in the snow and freezing cold temperatures, where they would punch and kick me in the face because I would not do what they asked me to do, where they would punch and kick me in the stomach because I would not do what they asked me to do, or they would beat me with a belt, or the verbal abuse in another foster home up in Cambridge in Guernsey County, where I lived for 2 years in my last 2 years of adult life, from 16 to 18. They would verbally abuse me and antagonize me and try to get me to start a fight with them so they can intentionally call the cops and have me arrested. In high school, I was in special ed classes until I was 18. And then when I was 18, I graduated and I was enrolled into the Guernsey County Board of DD. I was often made fun of in high school, and a lot of people didn't accept me. Through high school, my mom didn't have any communication with me. I didn't feel like I was the helpline that I needed. I moved into a home that I shared with 3 individuals that had developmental disabilities. Because of all this, I've had many challenges in my life. I've tried to build a relationship with my mom, but she often wouldn't call me when she was supposed to, and she did not hold up her end of the deal. She doesn't accept my lifestyle, which is a big reason why we don't speak today. I decided I wanted to try something different, so when I wasn't having a positive life in Guernsey, Guernsey moved me to Hockey County, where everything changed. When I moved to Hockey County, everybody in the small community weren't very open-minded about my lifestyle. People have called the cops and filed false reports on me and have not been very friendly to me. They have not accepted my lifestyle. This is very hard for me as I just want to be accepted and have friends. However, when I moved to Hocking County, I have several allies. After I've been there for a while, I've made plenty of friends. And some of my allies are here today, which is Beth Hackney and Matt Noble. They're sitting down there. You can wait. The way that Beth Hackney is my ally, and that she is an ally to me, that she supports my lifestyle, she sticks up for me, and she's willing to go to bat for me and make sure that nothing happens to me. She celebrates the holidays with me. She celebrates my birthday with me. And she makes sure that if someone's treating me bad, that it don't happen. And the way that Matt's my ally is he supports my lifestyle. And when I don't want to hear what he's saying, it may not be what I want to hear what he's saying, but he'll tell me anyway, but it'll be sugar-coated, so I know it's the truth. But it's the truth, but I know it's the truth, but it's sugar-coated, so it's a nice way of putting it. So he's pretty nice about saying stuff. I have learned to be a great advocate for myself and others, and I surround myself with positive, that's a hard word to say, positivity. trainings. Some of the trainings I have done in Hocking County that I have went through is the Good Life training, which Willie's over there, and he certified me on that. I got 72 CEUs for the Good Life that he trained me on that, and that was a 10-day training from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Then I took the life course training, and that was with Melaine Barlow, a lady who sits on the Hocking County board as a board member, and that was just sharing my story to some people who needed to know what being a person with disabilities is all about and how to treat them. And then I did the person-centered planning, which is PCP, or it might be considered PCT also, I don't know what people call it. I call it PCP. And I did those with Matt and one of his SSAs named Kenny Whiteley. And what was the lady's name? Susan? Barb St. Ferris, I think. Huh? I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Then I also did some face-to-face trainings in Zanesville, and I did those with Andy Wing, but now Andy Wing ain't doing them no more. Someone else took over for Andy Wing. I have actually contracted with some county boards to do Good Life trainings and share my story. And I am doing Good Life trainings if anybody wants my card. And I am contracting with county boards in the state of Ohio. I've contracted with Perry County Board. I've contracted with Kim Shepler back there. Wave your hand, Kim Shepler. Back there, I've contracted with her and Perry County Board. I've contracted with Hocking County Board. And I'm still waiting for Guernsey County Board to get back to me. They're my next one. So, I have learned that what has happened to me is not my mom's fault, and I'll continue to better my life and move forward. My message to others is to stand up and speak out. It is always better to say what you want other than to have to say what you want and have people stand behind you. If you're silent, nothing will get done. And I have one more thing before I end. This is my last thing I want to say. Do we have any SSA or providers here? Any SSAs? I know Beth can't be the only one. Okay, we got some more. How about any providers? Okay, I have a question for all you SSA and providers. Has any of you guys ever filled out a UI, unusual incident report? How many would you say you filled in 1 year? Just shout out a number, all you guys. Too many? Okay. Well, the thing, my message I said at the end where I said stand up and don't be silent, that's for the clients. You should stand up and not be silent and speak out. The client should stand up because if the SSAs and providers are filling out UIs and you're doing stuff that is positive, but the staff who you're doing the stuff that is positive in front of, and they're not filling out positive UIs, because I found out from one of my providers that they can actually fill out positive UIs. UIs aren't just supposed to be all negative. UIs can also be positive too. So if you do something positive, you can also fill out a UI for something positive. It don't always have to be for something negative. Because I had a staff who I volunteered at Kid Palooza in Hocking County, and so she filled out a UI on me going to Kid Palooza and volunteering there, volunteering for the whole day. So she filled out a UI and wrote on it positive UI. So if none of you guys are writing positive UIs and they're all negative, and you see someone doing something positive, write a positive UI and watch that brighten someone's day. It'll brighten someone's day. I'm done.
All right, our next panelist is Jabay Raymond. Jabay describes herself as, first of all, a human being. Anybody in the club? An abolitionist, an environmental protector, self-sustainable urban gardener, farmer, sound designer, music composer, certified diet and lifestyle intervention program educator, a women's health educator, an evidence-based health and wellness researcher, an herbalist, and last, but certainly not least, a survivor.
I have to make sure you all can hear me. Can you hear me? Human trafficking has existed in Native American communities for centuries, since the earliest point of contact with Europeans. Christopher Columbus engaged in exploitation of indigenous women from the time that he encountered them, including providing the indigenous women and the girls to his crew in tolerating rape and other atrocities. This behavior set the tone for the exploitation of these women in the hands of non-Native men that continues into this 21st century. The image of the hypersexual Indian woman continues to be used to market many and a number of products and ideas. Of these hypersexualized images and historical attitudes contribute to the views of Native American women that fetishize their ethnicity. Being labeled as a squaw, or how clients like to see us with our hair down and call us Pocahontas, as in role-playing when the clients and the traffickers expect us to have them call them John. I have been told by law enforcement and other prosecutors that it's easier to handle a homicide case because the victim is dead, rather than trying to solve a case of human trafficking because it's difficult to arrest and charge a trafficker because of the mental manipulation and bondage the trafficker places upon their victims. Many of the Native American people that are trafficked don't see themselves as victims because of social labeling, and we feel as that we're already less than. The numbers of Native American victims are difficult for most federal law enforcement agencies, such as the FBI or Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, which is also called ICE, and the United States Attorney's Office do not require the agents to record the Native American status of victims. According to the Government Accountability Office, they recommend that the Department of Justice should improve data collection and service provisions to Native Americans, and the Office of Victim Services should also report the number of trafficking victims who are Native American. Tribal courts cannot try Native American individuals, which means that any culture of people can come and commit crime on Native American land, including sexual assault, and not have any repercussions. You can't arrest them and try them. This means that even if you have the medical documentation or a tribal officer present or have a valid witness, there isn't anything that you can do or the tribal court can do to the non-Native individual. We kind of have the federal government to thank for that. If tribal court and law enforcement can't help people like me, who can? Labeling the victims as poor or statistics of a culture of people is wrong. These victims of human trafficking are not poor, their situations are poor. These victims are human beings just as you or the person sitting next to you here. And a human being's worth is not for sale. In the Native American culture, we have a path that we walk. It's called the Red Road. It's our Bimajui, is what we call it, the healthy way of life. It's a 24/7, 365 way of life. We're constantly grateful and we walk through life with grace and gratitude no matter what. As on my choker and medallion, if you want to come and look at it, you can. I have a wolf, and it reminds me of which wolf I need to feed, the good or the evil, and it's obviously the good one. If I label another human being I'm labeling myself. By labeling another human, I'm not only bringing disrespect to that person, I'm also bringing it upon myself. Some of you call that the golden rule. We are first and foremost human beings and living on a planet we call home. We have a responsibility to each other to take care of one another because we're all considered sacred. This is where it gets tough for me. And if I trigger anybody, I apologize right away. From age 8 to 12 years old, I was sexually molested by someone I knew, a friend of my family. When I decided to speak out about this, I went to a minister and I went to the community center and talked to a tribal officer. Their response was, "How could you spread lies about your family this way? Your family would not allow something like this to happen without saying anything." Well, unfortunately, they had. When I spoke to my siblings about what was going on, they told me that I would be putting the family in a position where their reputations within the community would be tarnished. One of my siblings had told me that I was a twin and the other one had lived. So I knew I wasn't going to receive any help or any type of help from the family or the people that most children grow up thinking that they can go to tell somebody and they wanted to keep confidential. For me, that wasn't a possibility. I grew up with a skewed belief of what family was like or who to trust, confide in, continued to end up empty-handed no matter who I turned to. What do you say to a family that continued to tell you how much they loved you in front of the public eye, but behind closed doors, they didn't report something that was criminal activity to somebody that could possibly have saved my life? I ended up in abusive relationships and had failed marriages, a few of them arranged, that only continued to instill the disappointment in my family's eye. It ended up that I was brought into the life of human trafficking by the same family friend as it continued into my adult life. Several challenges arrived while trying to keep this a secret. I had to still maintain my regular work. I was a hospice nurse. My trafficker decided to take me to other places. I was trafficked in 3 major Midwest cities: Green Bay, Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois, and St. Paul, Minnesota, Minneapolis. One of the challenges was when the father of my daughter had committed suicide. I had placement of my daughter and we had joint custody, and it was my responsibility as a parent to remain to protect my child and help her cope with the loss of her father. My daughter began to go down the wrong path, and I had to take her into counseling, which ended up into rehab. I began to see the historical trauma unfold. She dropped out of high school to have a child with a young man who was a legal adult having sex with a minor without my knowledge, and she turned 18 and married him. My family had known about and enabled this marriage to take place also without my knowledge. I have continued to try to continue to have contact, but the response was quite clear that my family and my daughter did not want anything to do with me. My trafficker had used coercion with financial manipulation and humiliation. This was the domination that my trafficker had over me, with addressing him as sir or master, performing unwanted sex acts through the force and exchange of money and respect from his peers who were police officers, people in the court system, and city official members on a city board council. I became branded, placed a branding on with his name and insignia to let others know who I belonged to. Torture, punishment, and enslavement were his means of keeping me in line. Being left alone and unattended, sometimes up to a month, suspended above ground by handcuffed wrists and shackled ankles, wearing only but a blindfold, feeling isolated. I became sensitive to sound, taste, and smell of my own blood and the sweat of the clients. I remained silent. While living in another state that I had not been raised in, I thought that someone heard me instead of shunning me. I had made plans to escape my trafficker, thinking that I had all my bases covered, and that it would happen and take place smoothly. The Health and Human Services of the state that I was handling my case was subject to criminal activity after the information was relayed back to my trafficker of where I had been living and what domestic abuse shelter I was seeking refuge with. My case became protected under a completely different Health and Human Services department and that I had been placed with the Safe at Home program, which is a program to help protect the victims experiencing domestic violence or stalking by an abuser or trafficker. All personal information was kept out of the public eye and protected along with third-party information. In September of 2016, the state of Ohio has this program. I encourage you to, if you deal with anybody that's in human trafficking or has abuse of any kind, to make sure that they know of this resource. It can protect their life and save a life. I was given an alias name and protected under the custody of the Secretary of State's office. I had lived underground and off-grid for my protection. Knowing that many of the court hearings I exposed my trafficker's life in the public, his family, his work, his friends, and anyone that had regular contact with him. The court system had denied me a protection order based on not enough physical evidence, even if I had the medical documentation that I was sexually assaulted and brutally raped. At no time did my trafficker have to take actions for anything that he had done to me. He remains free. When eventually he lost his job, he held me responsible. It became the time that I had to flee for my life. One call to a friend here in Ohio, a library to print off my plane ticket, and a backpack of my personal belongings, leaving everything behind, and severing all ties to my family, leaving that the toxic environment. I'm still here. I became aware of my resilience while singing and praying with my native brothers and sisters at Osage, Saskatchewan. It's the Seven Fires, Sacred Stone Camp, and Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, a gathering of human beings fighting for the protection of our water supply, not just for the Native American people, but for all people. Today I'm learning how to thrive by writing a newsletter that I do community-based services and evidence-based research for the Survivors Inc. 501c3 nonprofit organization. I learned that after moving here, they offer a debranding scholarship to survivors of human trafficking. There is nothing greater than the support of another human being that has gone through the same hell that I have. The selfless act and kindness of one survivor to another, and the gifted artistry of a tattoo artist. I was granted the scholarship from Survivors Inc. to have my debranding cover of a tattoo. The way that I see myself now has become much different than what I was. And I'm not the property of somebody anymore. I'm not for sale. In my time of healing, I had gone to a humanity conference where I was able to ask questions to someone that I had long admired, John Trudell. He spoke with me about how he lived with post-traumatic stress and how poetry and music came to him through his time of healing. He encouraged me to express my pain into a form of art that even if I didn't have words to describe what I was feeling, to be able to release in another form, to shift, so to speak, my emotion. I did that and I released a music album called Has Never Been, a storytelling approach as to pushing a painting into existence. The album was released on a net label clear across the globe in Belarus and produced with a fellow sound designer from Brazil. My music became a way to express myself freely because of the artistic expression. I received an award for making the top 10 list of Native American female sound designers. Music today plays a huge part of my life. I travel with an intertribal Native American drum group here in Ohio. And I use my gift to help raise awareness and funding for charitable organizations to human trafficking and anybody that is on the journey of healing. Maji Miniwa translates to Begin Again, which was my self-released album in 2016. The art therapist that I produced the album with, he's from the University of Derby in the United Kingdom. All proceeds of any of my music go to the charity itself, and this one went for the Pathfinder Center in Fort Thompson, South Dakota. It's located on the Crow Creek and Lower Brule reservations. It's a domestic violence and a shelter for human trafficking survivors. The spring and summer of 2016, I've been asked to design a medicine wheel garden for the Friends of the Homeless Community Garden on East Main Street in Columbus. The garden creates a sacred space for healing for everyone. The rocks around the circle align with the rising and setting of the sun at the summer solstice. The four quadrants represent the four cardinal directions and contain plants in their colors represent the colors of my medicine wheel, red, white, black, and yellow. The garden was ceremonially blessed by a medicine man, and it was an honor to give a part of myself to a community that I could relate with and work with them side by side, as most human beings should. Gardening in nature has always kept me connected. While keeping busy and planting and harvesting, I'm not thinking of my traumatic past or disconnecting because of intrusive memories or flashbacks. Gradually, I learned to enjoy the silence of meditation outside of the comfort zone and continue to partake in vision quests to connect to Mother Earth in a much deeper level. I continue to self-educate myself in interests that I have, working with a native plant nursery part-time, gradually going into full-time as an herbalist. There are events that are still triggering, but I choose which environment to surround myself in. Television was the first thing that I stopped watching. I feel that a lot of the fear-mongering is something that I'm not afraid of. I've spent my life living up to this point in constant fear. That the environment is toxic and I want nothing to do with it. I'm always aware of my surroundings now, and I'm able to sense when something is not right, and I've learned how to protect myself. I don't know what is more than traumatic than genocide. What continues to happen to my culture of people has been happening and will continue to happen if people do not stand up for the basic human right. Genocide is not something that I wish on any human being, but it still exists. My message of hope is to understand that everything is sacred, including yourselves. Take care of yourself first, because it's something that you have to do in order to be able to take care of any other individual. If you know somebody that's a victim of human trafficking or a survivor of human trafficking, please have the conversation with your children, your grandchildren, or the clients that you have coming through your office. Encourage them to sing, scream, dance, draw, get out on the sidewalk and draw with them, with chalk, set goals, grow a garden, build something. Use your voice until everything you must say is heard. Express yourself in a positive and healthy way. Release your pain and empower yourself. You are inspiring others to do the same. If you work in a charity organization or provide a service for someone, make sure that you follow through with that service. If you call or cancel to make the appointment and change your appointment and reschedule with dates, make sure that you follow through with that person. You are, as a professional, held with a certain regard to individuals like me that need your assistance in your services. If you fail to follow through, instead of trying to save a life, you will potentially end one. Remind yourself of who you are first and foremost. You are a human, and you're trying to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Jubei. Rounding out our panel this morning is Monsieur Cleveland Gwynn. He told me this morning it's a French name, Gwynn, and so I was trying to welcome him in that way. He's a native, however, of Toledo.
Just saying.
And began his 29-year state career in 1987 at the Northwest Ohio Developmental Center as a therapeutic program worker. Mr. Gwynn transitioned to various positions over the years at Northwest Ohio Psychiatric Hospital, and that included dietary, corrections, and therapeutic programs, until transitioning into maintenance with the common thread that integrates all of his various positions as communication. Mr. Gwynn is highly regarded as a people person and has been recognized for his generous contributions over the years as a trauma-informed care champion. Mr. Gwynn most recently was a presenter at 2 different trauma-informed care workshops related to the integration of trauma-informed care and primary health care. Welcome, Cleveland Gwynn.
Would you help me kind of focus myself? Could you do that? I got a song came in my head as I was coming here. Of course, you people here in Columbus, wow. I don't even know how you get around. Ooh. So, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, your cute little face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Thank you very much. Give yourself a hand. My name is Cleveland Gwynn, and I am a trauma-informed care champion. Toledo, Ohio, Northwest Psychiatric Hospital. My life has been really something. To be standing here in front of you, it means the world to me. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, team. All the ones that are here. Anybody here from Toledo? I know one person is here. Raise your hand. Anybody else from Toledo? All right. My mother is not with me, and I never had a father. My mother drank most of her life. It wasn't until recently that I found out that I had fetal alcohol syndrome. Are we all familiar with that?
Yes.
My mother drank from the time that I was pregnant. Not I was. She was pregnant. And I never knew my father. I never knew what it was like to be a man. I never knew what it was like to be in a relationship. My uncles played hide the belt with me. You know, if you don't do something, you get this belt and you hide it. And you hide the belt, and if you don't find it, when one of my uncles would find it, he would beat me with the belt. So that's just like one experience. I have no recollection of my childhood at all. How many people remember their childhood? How many people don't? So I have some like-minded people. I only remember when I was 12 years old, sitting on my aunt's porch, thinking that I would be an NBA player. Little did I know that the NBA players would be much taller than me. I thought I had it all planned. My girlfriend at the time, her and her parents decided to come to my house to kind of tell me a secret. The secret was, I'm pregnant. So at an early age, I had to take on this responsibility as a man. But I didn't know how to take that responsibility. I was never taught it. So I had to learn it from where? TV. And God knows we know about our media, don't we? They repeated the same thing over and over and over again. So what does that have to do with trauma and me? We live in a culture that repeatedly traumatizes us every day. So what was my plan for this? Out of nowhere, I found a job. I went from one side of town to the other side of town, catching a bus, walking. I had to have a job to support myself and my family. Little did I know that my girlfriend wanted to take our daughter and go. She didn't want to have anything to do with me because I was not a good man. How many good men in the building? Come on now. We do have good men, just so you ladies know. From there, on my job, I ran into a mental health facility. After probably months of catching the bus and going back, Toledo Mental Health Center at the time. And all they wanted at the time was a body. So I was pretty healthy at the time, thinking that I was God's blessing to the world. Young, didn't know what was going on. As the story goes on, I had another child, and then another child. Now, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know working, being passionate about something, loving myself, caring for other people, and service to other people would get me there. I had no formal education. So here I stand. I could go on and on. So here I stand before you to let you know that there's hope, that there's joy and happiness, that there's peace, and that there's compassion. One of the things I use to help keep myself resilient is meditation. You got everybody familiar with meditation? Yeah. Would you like to try at least one part of it? Okay? Because I know when I came to Columbus, I was traumatized. And I did not use a meditative technique. I used some other kind of language. Okay? That was my meditation. So what I'd like to do before I go on, you know, to be able to do this, stand before you, is hard. We're talking about going inside and developing from the inside out. So that's hard. So one of the techniques I used was, everybody put down anything you need to put down. Books, pens, take a moment, close your eyes. Listen to the silence. Never mind anything else. Use this moment to create an energy for healing, for compassion, for taking responsibility at this moment. Right now, we are sending energy out into this universe. We are becoming one mind right now. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You may come back. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Cleveland, you're a guy after my own heart doing those experiential things. I'd like to give another round of applause to our entire panel. Thanks for being a safe, supportive environment for them to come and share their story. At this time, I'd like to open it up if anybody has any comments or questions. This is a diverse panel. It comes from a lot of places, and they have a lot of information to share with you. But you don't have to have questions. I think it's important for us to just be able to connect on an emotional level with the sorts of experiences that other people have. And I find personally that it refreshes my commitment to do the work that we do in the world. And, but if anybody has any questions or comments, I think we have some mics out there. There you go, in the middle of the room. You want to, yep, there goes Bob. Thanks, Bob.
I just want to say that this lady right here has got the most beautiful heart of any person I know. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Bob.
And I wanted to ask, what block on East Main is your garden?
It's on the corner. It's on the corner of Carpenter and East Main.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask the panelists about how they coped with that anger that they may have experienced. And I know that, I believe, Giovanni, you mentioned the idea about labeling and how it reflected back in the golden rule. I wondered if anybody else, or if you could expand yourself on that idea of how to manage that anger and not let it consume you.
Excellent question. People have experienced a lot of negative life events. It's not unusual for them to experience anger. What is pretty common is for them to direct it inwards and be unhappy with themselves for a while. But I think a process of healing is being able to identify that anger and place it appropriately. Who would like to go first, perhaps, and speak to having anger? Michael, would you like to say something? You're allowed, but you don't have to.
I was trying to think of something to say. Well, before, you want me to do that one thing you showed me about where I stick my fingers in my ear? Okay. Well, for the guy who asked the question, before when I first moved to Hocking County, back in 08, because I moved to Hocking County back in 08, and I've lived there since 08 to 2017. Well, I remember when I first moved to Hocking County, I wasn't such a big self-advocate as you think I am. I did have some issues, and Hocking County did have to work with me on my issues I had, but now I have changed, and it took me about 2 to 4 years to work on my issues. After 2 or 4 years of my issues, I was like sticking fingers in my ears and go, and ignoring people, and I would shut down and I would not talk to people. But after I found out that they would listen to me and they were going to listen to what I would say, then I started opening up and talking about my feelings to them and letting them know what my feelings are, because I learned that they were going to listen. So then I could express my feelings and telling them, well, this is what you're doing wrong, and I don't like it that you're doing this wrong, and this is how it should be done. And if you do this the right way, then I won't get mad at you. So I kind of find that if you open up and express your feelings, people may not like what you have to say, but you got to say it anyway.
Thanks, Michael. And so what I hear from what you're saying is be a good listener.
Yeah.
Be willing to listen
And stand up and speak out.
Okay, and if you have something to be angry about, speak out.
Yep.
And if you're working with those people, listen to them.
Yep, that's what they're getting paid to do.
Jubei, would you like to make a comment about dealing with anger?
Yeah. I went through a dialectical behavior therapy, and Deb Schubach, who is from the Centero, thank you. I gotta thank her because she dealt with me when I first got here to Ohio. The communication that I had with the state and with my healing, we were not good friends. So I'm much different, I'm much more balanced. Just with anger, you have to learn how to deal with it. You have to face it first before thinking. Instead of putting it aside, you need to deal with it. So encouraging people to do something that makes them happy, or going out just for a walk, or feeling safe to go for a walk, or invite yourself to help somebody to go for a walk in order for them to feel safe. It'll make the difference in how you handle your anger. If you feel that you have no one, and there's nobody that you can go to, I mean, we've watched the news or heard the radio how in Toledo, there is a minister that is human trafficking a 14-year-old. That is something that you grow up thinking that you can go to somebody and tell that person, excuse me, and keep it confidential. If you don't have those resources, you're pretty much alone. And you become angry, and you feel like you have no one. So, I mean, you have to be, they rely on you. When they can't go to a police officer or to a parishioner, they come to you, because there's nobody else left. There's nobody that wants to hear you. That helps.
I guess for me, in my life, I always, don't worry, be happy. You guys know that? I'm kind of a song guy. But I have a slogan that I use. If I don't bring any drama, then there's no trauma. So, no drama, no trauma. Can you say that with me? No drama, no trauma. So if I don't allow anyone to bring any drama to me, then I can't have any trauma. For me, I study a lot of the self-help stuff. I research a lot of the mindfulness, and I have come to the conclusion that when I quiet my mind and when I replace my anger with something else, then I can better be able to handle it inside myself. So, when someone's getting on my nerves, or when someone's looking at me and judging me, or when someone's thinking that they're much better than me, now that's all in my mind, okay, just so you know. I say to myself, please, no drama, no trauma. And that's how I do.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions or comments for our panel? Right there.
I wanted to say thank you all for sharing your story. And also thank you for that meditation this morning. It was very wonderful. Our question is for Jibe. How do you cope when the activism that is a part of your healing becomes traumatic? For example, Standing Rock. I know we saw the news, how that became a very traumatizing situation in fighting for water for people and for the land.
The first thing I have to ask myself is it going to be effective for me to react in a situation while bringing disrespect to other people, as the Native culture has seen throughout my life? For me to do something back to another person that is disrespectful on my behalf, it's not part of a solution, it's part of a problem. It's something that is an accepted behavior amongst society. And we need to break that, and we need to change that it's not acceptable for people to disrespect another human being. That's what I have in common with you. Just because I'm a different culture than what you all are, we're all human beings. We have to live here together, and we have to somehow try to get along. And if we can, you know, just somehow look at each other and treat each other how you want to be respected, then you should do the same to somebody else. Because if you do anything different, or if you do anything that's going to harm you, it's not effective on your behalf. So as a professional, like I said, you are held in a certain regard to help these people, like all of us here. We look to you for assistance. We're looking to you for help because nobody else bothered to want to help us. So I would say, you know, if it's not effective, then don't do it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, then I have one more thing for you to do. It'll take 3 minutes. One of the things that I think that this panel represents is connectivity. We are all intimately connected to each other in the work that we do and the people that we work with. And we are the people. We are both sides of this coin. And I think we need to acknowledge our connectivity. And so before we break for a break and get set up for lunch, if you are willing and able, I'd like you to find somebody sitting next to you and find 3 things that you connect on. 3 things that you have alike, or 3 things that you both are connected to. And there are There are easy things like we're all sitting in Columbus, Ohio. Don't do those. Don't do those. We're all human beings. We all have, what, a thumb, you know? Don't do it. Go for something a little deeper. See if you can find at least 3 things that you connect with somebody at your table or sitting by you. And if you want an extra challenge, make it a group of 3. So you have 3 minutes to do so. Go.
You guys were still like even when they have the stage.
All right, everybody. Wrap up that conversation. 3, 2, 1. If I could have your attention for just 1 more minute. Thank you. Oh, you're such a good group. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks to our panelists. I want you to spend 30 seconds now in what we call savoring. I would like you to savor this moment. You've connected with people. You've heard from very important people. You are dedicating a slice of your life to becoming more trauma-informed. And it's all good stuff. The human brain sticks to negative things. It helps us survive. We have to make the effort to savor the good moments. So take 30 seconds to savor what good you've gotten out of this morning so far and the connections that you have with the like-minded individuals in this room. 30 seconds. Go. Thanks for savoring with me, and I'm going to turn it back over to Kim Kale.
Now, we're going to do what Jabay suggested. We got to take care of ourselves first, right? So it's that time for lunch. Lunch, you're going to go out those doors. You're going to grab a bag. You can come in here. The workshop sessions are going to be on the next level down, starting at 1:15. Not 1:18, 1:15, okay? In each of those sessions, at the end of them, you'll be given another code, and at the end of the day, please come back, and if you are not able to, certainly turn in your yellow copy to one of the monitors in the room. If you are in need of a vegetarian or a gluten-free option, please talk to one of the servers out there. We start at 1:15. Take good care of yourselves. Thanks.